Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 24th of October 2022, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the tragic death of renowned anchor person Arshad Sharif, who was killed by a bullet in Nairobi, in Kenya. And this is going to be our leading story. We will give out the information that we have as far as his killing is concerned. Also, the official statement that has come from the Office of the Inspector General National Police Service in Nairobi, in Kenya. This is going to be our first story. Our second story concerns President Xi Jinping's next term as president, his vision for regional growth and prosperity. The Pakistani leadership has also congratulated President Xi Jinping on his re-election as the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China for a third term. How important is China's regional and global policies under the able leadership of Xi Jinping? This is going to be our next story. Then we'll be talking about fighting misinformation and the need for collective efforts in order to thwart all such misinformation and disinformation that has been circulating in different forms, whether through traditional media or through social media platforms. This was a declaration that was adopted by the 12th session of the Islamic Conference on Information, where the Ministers for Information had gathered, including our own Minister for Information, Ma'am Maryam Aurangzeb Sahiba. They talked about how we need to move forward and also counter Islamophobia in this post-truth era. This was a conference that was held in Istanbul, in Turkey, on Saturday. Then we'll be talking about the Pakistan as well as other countries that are part of the United Nations that are celebrating the 76th anniversary of the organization today. 24th of October every year is the day when the UN Day is observed to commemorate its official creation that happened way back in 1945. In more than one aspect, Pakistan also stands for its novel contribution as far as whether it be the peacekeeping missions or other factions, which Pakistan has been contributing very ably as far as this body that is called as the United Nations is concerned. And then finally, we'll be talking about the latest as far as the British elections are concerned. Rishi Sunak, who is of Indian origin, is the first Indian origin or South Asian origin Britisher who is now going to be the new, who has become in fact the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He is the new Conservative leader as well. He of course has now taken oath after Liz Truss being in 44 days of power, resigned. Also, Rishi Sunak was one of the leaders who was criticizing the economic policies of Liz Truss as well. He said these were not applicable. Now he is the new Prime Minister, and what is a plus for him is that he's the first one who is from a South Asian or an Indian origin. This is our last story. Let's begin with our first. And ladies and gentlemen, that concerns a sad state of affairs as far as journalism is concerned. We've lost renowned journalist Arshad Sharif. Now, as for the latest reports that emanate, he was shot when he was passing through a police barricade. The official statement from the Office of the Inspector General National Police Service in Nairobi, Kenya, talks about fatal wounding by a police officer of a passenger in a motor vehicle, and of course it talks about this official statement talks about the officers trailing a motor vehicle towards Magadi, and they alerted the police there. The deceased motor vehicle came upon the police barrier which they drove through. It is then that they were shot at, fatally injuring late Arshad Muhammad Sharif. The condolences have come from different quarters, including the journalistic community, including our own Prime Minister, who has said that he is deeply saddened by the shocking news of journalist Arshad Sharif's tragic death. May Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam grant him a place in heaven. My deep condolences and prayers for the bereaved family. Just had a telephonic call. He then posted a latest tweet saying that he had had a telephonic conversation with the Kenyan President William Ruto about the tragic death of Arshad Sharif in Kenya, and he has requested him to ensure fair and transparent investigation into the shocking incident. He has promised all-out help, including the fast tracking of the process to return the body to Pakistan at the earliest. Journalistic community has also come together as one in order to condole the sad demise of Mr. Arshad Sharif. Maryam Aurangzeb Sahiba, our Minister for Information, also met with the mother of the deceased journalist. Our Prime Minister also talked to the mother of the deceased journalist. And of course, investigation is going on from the Kenyan side to ascertain what actually happened. This is also in this official statement that has been given by the Office of the Inspector General and National Police Service in Nairobi, Kenya. We'll be also updating you as soon as we get updates regarding the deceased journalist Arshad Sharif. Our condolences from Pakistan Television and of course PTV World go to the deceased family, Arshad Sharif's side and his family. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, now concerns Xi Jinping, the Chinese president's next term as president, his vision for regional growth and prosperity now that he has become re-elected as the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China for a third term. What does it bode for China as a regional power and a global power as well? More in the following report.
The 20th National Congress of Communist Party of China came to a successful conclusion at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping was elected General Secretary of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China at the committee's first plenary session. Leaders of foreign countries, diplomats and leaders of foreign political parties sent their congratulatory messages to China on the successful convening of the Congress. The Congress attracted global attention for the positive signals carried out during the meeting that indicate China will continue making progress and contributing to global development. Demonstrating Islamabad's ironclad friendship with China, Pakistan leadership felicitated Chinese President Xi Jinping on his re-election. President Dr. Arif Alvi and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Senate Chairman Sadiq Zanjirani, and leaders from the entire political spectrum extended their best wishes to Xi Jinping. Paying a glowing tribute to President Xi's sagacious stewardship and unwavering devotion for serving the people of China, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stated that on behalf of entire Pakistani nation, I congratulate President Xi Jinping on his re-election as CPC General Secretary for the third term. China's modernization, as well as Chinese answers to global challenges, is indispensable for development and peace of the world, and Xi Jinping's momentous leadership inspires other developing nations to seek their own development paths.
We've been joined by two guests to discuss China's role as a regional and a global power under the able leadership of Xi Jinping. We've been joined by Dr. Fazal Rehman. He's a director of PICS under the University of Sargodha. And we've also been joined by Barrister Safi Ghauri, who's a political analyst. Thank you to both my guests to have joined us. Let's begin with Dr. Saab. Dr. Fazal Rehman, new mandate, new path. What do you feel are the prospects under the 20th CPC National Congress? And how do you feel President Xi Jinping is going to steer his country now that he has been elected for a third time?
Actually, we have seen in the last 10 years that he has been steering the country through all difficulties which have been internal and external both at the same time. But the way he has handled COVID, the way he has been handling the economic affairs and relations with the United States, the issue of Taiwan and Hong Kong, I think that people have reposed once again absolute trust in his leadership and the capacity of the CPC to handle the affairs of the country more effectively. Certainly he has vision for China. He has been projecting the Xi Jinping thoughts of governance in the last several years, and which have not only become very popular, but they have been practiced in a way and they have yielded very good results for China. So I think that the future of China lies in the well-being of its people, and Xi Jinping is seen as a surety of people-centric policies and approaches, and he is going to also deal very effectively with the security-related issues because he has shown very strong resolve that there will be no compromises as far as the national core interests are concerned. So I think that the coming days and years are going to be very challenging for Xi Jinping, but at the same time, I think the people and the party trusts his capacity and capability to steer the country through thick and thin.
All right. Barrister Safiullah Khan Ghauri, third term for President Xi Jinping. What is, in your point of view, the significance of this re-election as far as the global and regional politico-economic scenario is concerned?
Right. Omar, it's difficult to understate how magnificent and how important this re-election is. In my honest opinion, and I say this with complete responsibility, I believe that this is the singular most important event in at least this particular year, or at least in the ongoing global circumstances as they change. This is the singular most effective thing that has happened, and we need to put into perspective why these things are. So everything is relative, and let's look at what we're seeing elsewhere. So we've just seen Liz Truss, the Prime Minister of the UK, getting removed after just 44 days. Rishi Sunak, I've just heard, has become the Prime Minister. Fantastic news. I love that person. I think he's an amazing Prime Minister. Will make for an amazing Prime Minister. But what the point I'm trying to make here is the fickleness of the systems that we see elsewhere. We've seen in our own country Prime Ministers come and go in just months. We've seen in the US talks of midterm elections, and how the very democratic structures that we speak of there are so weak that they are liable to fall at any point of time. Now, this is in complete contrast to what is happening in China, where Xi Jinping has once again assumed power as for the third term. But this is no joke, because China is the world's biggest country, a nation of 1.4 billion people. And the Communist Party of China is the world's biggest political party with 96 million members. And now if we were to just think of how this party represents the 1.4 billion people, it's quite fascinating, really. The entire way in these elections are conducted, and the way in which Xi Jinping has been appointed the General Secretary. So these 96 million party cadre elect amongst themselves 2,300 delegates. These 2,300 delegates need to be highly educated, need to be highly dependable, with a proven track record of delivery to the public. These 2,300 delegates then go to Beijing, and then in Beijing, they elect amongst themselves 200 Central Committee members. And from those 200 Central Committee members, another election takes place in which they elect 25 Politburo members and 7 Politburo Standing Committee members, which are then headed by the General Secretary of the Communist Party. This is nothing short of a miracle. This is much bigger than what we speak of when it comes to Indian democracy. The scale on which this is being practiced is unprecedented in human history. And so when we see so many people affirming their faith in such unilateral methods onto one man's vision, and also accompanying slogans like to establishment, to safeguards, and all other things. And this is despite the countless criticism that China keeps facing. Mega billionaires who control Fox News, like George Soros, had been harping on for years now that Xi Jinping, for instance, would not make it to the third term because he's so unpopular. And yet we see complete faith of the people, the fact that he completely changed his Politburo, and once again it was accepted by everyone. I find that
Safi, I'd like to revert to Dr. Fazal Saab, and I'd like to understand, of course, now that Xi Jinping has been elected for a third time as the General Secretary of the CPC, what, in your point of view, are the key agenda topics of this Congress, and what are the crucial takeaways, especially for countries such as Pakistan, in the whole context of the time-bound and strong relationship that the two countries have been enjoying and still enjoy?
Well, I think the most important thing from our point of view is that there will be a continuation of the policies, and China has been our most trusted friend, and I think this friendship will continue. It is also a good news for CPEC that CPEC is going to continue with even faster momentum. And on top of it is the regional environment, because Xi Jinping has been advocating stability, peace, economic integration and development. So the recent initiatives which has been taken by Xi Jinping, that global security initiative and global development initiative, are going to have implications for the regional peace and development, or rather global peace and development. So certainly from Pakistani point of view, I think it's a good news, and we are very happy and we are very proud that there is always a very smooth transition in terms of the change of the membership. But this time, the party has elected Xi Jinping once again, which shows his popularity, which shows that
and
he
the confidence
is.
that they repose in him. I mean, that is also extremely important to note. My next question is diverted to the both of you, but let's begin with Safi. Safi, China, as far as Sun Yeli, who's a spokesperson for the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, says that China is not going to export its development model to other countries, nor will it import models from other countries. How, in your point of view, does this translate into China's regional vision?
So it's very interesting. I think President Xi also, as he ended his speech, clearly stated that the reason why China has been successful is because the Communist Party underpins the principles of Marxism with a Chinese flavor. And so we have there's continuous support for Marxist principles, which we see being reduced elsewhere in the world, and we see their own cultural twist on it. Because of their cultural twist, I think it is difficult for China to play the game that the US, for instance, often plays of trying to superimpose their political or economic or governance models. However, I, for one, am firmly of the opinion that there are definitely certain aspects of the Chinese governance that Pakistan ought to follow. And I've been publicly advocating, for instance, of decentralized governance that China has, the ideas of having different counties that compete with each other for increased growth that China has put into place. These are models that Pakistan could definitely benefit from. Even if China does not want to export them to us, we should actively look to import these ideas. Because at the end of the day, these are not built just on goods, they also thrive on ideas.
All right, Dr. Saab, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think that China has always been all along advocating that every country has a different set of systems and different set of conditions, and they should adopt the development model according to their local conditions. They should not import anything, but rather they should import good things, sort of adopt good things from every system, but they must look at the local conditions, whether they are suitable for the development in their own style. For example, China, sort of is developing with Chinese characteristics, which means that Chinese ethos, Chinese values, China's historical influences on the policy making, decision making, and development model, that is very much there because they understand their conditions, they understand their psyche, they understand. For us, what we can learn from the Chinese, sort of model is, I think, that the focus on education. There have been 6-7 waves at different point in time of reforms in education. We need to, I think, also look at the kind of aspects of corruption in bureaucracy, in civil society, in all other aspects of which can hamper or impact their social development. And I think thirdly, the people-centric policies, which is the core of the Chinese development model. I think we need to adopt that, and we have to bring in the people's factor or element into which needs to be reflected in all of our policies.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Fazal Rahman, Director, PICS, University of Sargodha, and Barrister Ghauri, political analyst, who have joined us. I wish we had more time to discuss China and its policies and its models and its route to modernization and how it differs or is similar to the other modernization models that the world is putting into action. But of course, that will be for another day. For the time being, we congratulate President Xi Jinping for, of course, becoming the Secretary General of the CPC for a third consecutive term. May his reign usher in a new era of modernization, a new era of development, a new era of success and stability for his country and also for the relations between China and Pakistan. Let's come to our next segment, and that concerns the Istanbul Declaration that has been taken as far as the Ministers for Information that were there or under the ambit of the OIC member states, in which one important topic was discussed, and that was fighting misinformation and the need for collective efforts. More in the following report.
Significance of media and information in all its forms in shaping local, regional and international public has acquired tremendous importance in the digital era challenged by fake news and disinformation. At the successful culmination of the 12th Islamic Conference of Information Ministers held in Istanbul, Republic of Turkey, Istanbul Declaration was issued which spotlight pressing issues of contemporary world. Underscoring the perils of disinformation as a destructive weapon, Ministers of Information of Organization of Islamic Cooperation stressed the importance of cooperation among member states in developing mechanisms necessary to combat misinformation and face other challenges relating to the post-truth era. The declaration recognized the importance of multidimensional crisis communication and management and mechanisms to check the accuracy of the information in the medium term and news content, media literacy, and digital media literacy in the long term. The ministers also commended the efforts of OIC towards the advancement of mission of Islam and promote dialogue between the Islamic culture and the world's other cultures, and praised the constant efforts and initiatives of the OIC's Secretary General and his contacts within and outside the Islamic world. The progress towards operationalization of the OIC Media Forum is critical, and media outlets in the member states have to raise global awareness about deliberate acts of destruction and desecration of Islamic cultural and liberal heritage in the non-Muslim countries.
Ambassador Najam Saqib joins us online. He's a former ambassador and also a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Sir, how important do you feel is the declaration that has been adopted in this 12th session of the Islamic Conference of Information Ministers? Information, misinformation, disinformation is something that Pakistan has been at the brunt of directly and indirectly in the last few years. Do you feel this declaration goes in the right vein or goes in the right path as far as moving ahead with a joint consensus to thwart all such attempts in the future is concerned?
Yeah, thank you, Omar. You are absolutely right. This disinformation, misinformation, and then fake news, and the worst of all, the deep fakes. It has a background, this OIC Ministers of Information who have met in Istanbul, Turkey. If you recall that in December last year and in March this year, there were two resolutions passed by the United Nations General Assembly with consensus. And those two important resolutions related to the two subjects which have been discussed in the recently concluded Ministers of Information OIC conference in Istanbul. Now, the background is that after the passing of these resolutions, the United Nations General Assembly, various groups, including OIC, they wanted to take this matter ahead in both Islamophobia and how to combat this disinformation and related challenges. The one thing which has come out of very positively from this conference is that they are talking about developing mechanisms. That is one thing which has been missing, not only from the OIC forum, but at the United Nations also various resolutions are passed, but then they are shelved or forgotten about. So this is the first good thing that the OIC information ministers have decided through a declaration that they will be developing individually and with the help of and with the cooperation of all other member countries of the OIC mechanisms, and that is what is required. Now, coming to the specifics of your question, of course, Pakistan is a victim of this. And lately we have seen, the leaks of various audio tapes and video clips and all that, and, some doctored, some engineered, some fakes, some deep fakes. So, of course, Pakistan has taken a lead, not only in the, in combating disinformation, misinformation, deep fakes and fakes, but also for Islamophobia. So to me, this was a positive, constructive and pragmatic step that the OIC information ministers have taken.
All right, Ambassador Network Saqib, you referred to two resolutions of the United Nations. The resolution, of course, let me point them out, is number 76/254, International Day to Combat Islamophobia, and resolution number 76/227 on countering disinformation for the promotion and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Both were adopted, as you had yourself very ably said, by the United Nations General Assembly on the 15th of March this year and 24th of December last year, respectively. If the OIC takes it forward, how important do you feel, or how responsible do you feel there will be the role of the OIC in order to move in tandem or independently of the United Nations as far as thwarting all of these disinformations, misinformations and Islamophobia is concerned?
In two words, I would say extremely important. Why I say that? Because, all these Muslim countries particularly, and the world at large, they are the victim of these fake news, disinformation, misinformation, etc. And the time has come. That is why, the United Nations, the two resolutions that you have mentioned, 76/227 and 76/254. The Islamophobia is, of course, our own problem, the problem facing the Muslim Ummah, and Pakistan has taken a lead in that. As far as the other is concerned, the disinformation aspect, the whole world is, trying to find some ways how to face this challenge in a way that it could not only be stopped, but it could be combated properly. And the after effects of this disinformation, because, the people, let's say, there is a piece of information on social media or on electronic media or print media for that matter. People start to believe in what they see. And recently there have been many instances, not only in Pakistan, in India, in South Asia, in Muslim countries, that, these lobbyists particularly, and those people who have vested interest, they try to malign others. So the negative aspect of this is more important to combat than the positive. And unfortunately, there is nothing positive that one could see, that, all these backdoor dudes who are, technology savvy, and they are easily available. So it has to be done not only on the forum of OIC, General Assembly, United Nations. Everyone is on board. But as far as Islamophobia is concerned, that is a problem facing, the Muslim countries, and Pakistan has been on the lead as such, leading this front for the past at least 4 years, vehemently. And I'm very, very happy to note that on both these occasions, Pakistan's participation, particularly in New York, our Ambassador Munir Akram is there, a very experienced and very knowledgeable ambassador who is leading Pakistan and conveying Pakistan concerns. Now, what is going to be, the next step, of course, after issuing this declaration at the OIC forum, the member countries, would come back, and the relevant ministries, the line ministries, would ponder upon it. And I think that there is a realization, in the real sense of the word, that the time has come that we have to combat it. And by the way, the OIC has a media forum also. So if you have read, and certainly you
of course, and they have also welcomed this conference has also welcomed the progress as far as the operationalization of this media forum is concerned, which is of course a very important and pertinent thing. And my next question was concerning that, so I'm going to cut you short and ask you that question instantly. This operationalization of the OIC media forum is could or would serve, inshallah, as in the vital interest of the Muslim Ummah. How can we make it more vibrant, in your point of view, as an ambassador, as somebody who understands diplomacy and regional affairs much better than others?
Look, if we are talking about problems and issues, rather either political or economic or information related, the most important thing, Omar, to me is the unity. Unity among the OIC Muslim member countries. For instance, if we see Saudi Arabia and Iran. They are members of the OIC, but they are, poles apart. Whenever it comes to passing a resolution, there are inter-se problems among the Muslim countries. And if you remember, Allama Iqbal, our national poet, Ek ho Muslim haram ki pasbani ke liye, that all the Muslims should be. He actually prayed for this, that the unity is the most important thing. If the unity is achieved among the majority of the members, I'm not saying all of them, among the majority of the members, particularly important countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, etc., I can assure you that this media forum operationalization, everything will come easy. And, as I have spent more than 35 years in the diplomatic sphere and the diplomatic world, I can assure you this is the only thing missing, which is a kind of a hurdle, between the development in OIC, pragmatic approach, taking practical actions against all these evils. So to me, the bottom line is that the OIC members have to be united, if not unanimity, at least consensus, and taking practical measures. And I assure you that
Ambassador Saab, when you talk of taking practical measures, media literacy, digital media literacy, I feel is a very, very important step, and it's crucial to combat disinformation or misinformation. In your point of view, are the OIC member countries using the latest, the new, the emerging platforms and the technological innovations to foster media literacy?
Absolutely, you are absolutely right. But the thing is that basics have to be done first. As you are aware, let's say if it was the 12th session of the Ministers of Information, if you see the 11 past sessions of the ministers, there would be resolutions, there would be declarations, but hardly any action. That is what I'm pointing towards, that after passing a resolution or deciding about declaring certain things, there are certain practical measures. And I'm very happy that this time they have started to thinking about developing mechanisms, and that is what is required right now. And may it be digital diplomacy or information and all those areas that you have mentioned, they are very easy. The only thing is that cooperation has to be at the practical level, and certain practical actions, pragmatic actions have to be taken to actually justify what you are declaring and what you are deciding.
All right. Now, speaking of what you are declaring and what you are justifying, let's also talk about the whole Indian disinformation and misinformation campaign that has been going on since decades against Pakistan. How it also poses a serious threat to our internal security and, of course, our national cohesion and our regional relations. This Disinfo Lab revelations that revealed all of this machinations that the Indians were going on against Pakistan shows a systemic government-sponsored disinformation warfare. In your point of view, sir, understanding diplomacy and how countries work, in your point of view, how can OIC forge a joint front against such states, or will they ever do that?
Omar, the irony is not that India is, doing this misinformation and disinformation about Pakistan. India is a known, sworn enemy of Pakistan. It has made Pakistan its enemy. So there is no irony in this. There is no problem in this. And I don't see any reason why should we complain that what India is doing. The irony is that the international community, particularly after this EU Disinfo Lab and the entire range of all those, Twitter accounts and WhatsApp accounts and all the, the misuse of social media, the international community is silent. And this particular aspect, everyone knows, not only, the disinfo, which India is hell-bent upon maligning Pakistan through fake news, through deep fakes, through misinformation, through disinformation. The world knows that. The only issue here is that Pakistan doesn't have to do anything to prove, because the EU Disinfo Lab, that was not, propagated or made or established from Pakistan. it is known as the daylight. The problem is that the political angles, the diplomatic angles that the West and the United States particularly and the European Union, they have made India the policeman of this whole South Asian region to combat China, to contain China, and to be here as the spokesperson, as the spokesperson of the entire Western world. So they are using India for that, and in the process, they are not, going to snub India, for which we, the diplomats, we have been trying to, tell the world that, look, there is a paradox here. You see that there is a cruise missile, for instance, BrahMos, and they say that it was an accidental fire. Excuse me, if it was, God forbid, if it was Pakistan would have been sanctioned long time ago. So here we are talking about the double standards. Here we are talking about the duplicity, among or between the Western powers and the powers to be. But the good news is that countries like China, for instance, they are there to safeguard our interest. And good luck to India. Good luck to India. They are doing their, job. We should do our job, and we should stay clear. For instance, beginning from our nuclear program to our, being honest and straightforward in our information dissemination. We have to wait for the time when the whole world will actually realize that India, which is actually imploding from within, India, what is doing in the held Kashmir, the Jammu and Kashmir area, India, what is doing with its own minorities. The world has to take cognizance, and our efforts will continue to tell the world, to brief the world with detailed facts and figures. And as if you recall, we actually presented a dossier. The ISPR actually presented a dossier in which we said that, look, this is what, and with all the cell phone numbers, the routes, the money going from one bank to another. But still the irony is that, that the world is, overlooking all that. But I don't think that it can go for a long time, because the next elections in India, they might decide something to bring up a sensible, sane prime minister in New Delhi, and maybe the good things will start happening as far as Pakistan-India relations are concerned.
Well, let's hope the outcomes that come out of this conference are only positive, and that the entire Islamic world under the ambit of the OIC gets together to fight all this misinformation, the disinformation, the Islamophobia and whatnot that has been luring not only our elderly but also our young generation. As the OIC Secretary General Hussain Ibrahim Taha said, that this session aimed to discuss the challenges facing the media sector and also the reviewing the media's discourse as far as religious matters are concerned. And he also talked about the upsurge in terrorism and extremism discourse that have managed to lure segments of the younger population under these pseudo-Islamic slogans that have nothing to do with the Islamic religion. So let's hope for a constructive future as far as the collective role of the OIC member states are concerned concerning this disinformation in different forms of media. Thank you very much, Ambassador Najam Saqib, to have joined us to talk about this very important topic, that is disinformation, misinformation and Islamophobia, and of course the role of the OIC to thwart all of this. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns the United Nations Day. Today, the 24th of October, is the United Nations Day. 1945 was the day when the United Nations was established on this very date. And of course, I'd like to refer to what the Secretary General of the United Nations has said on this very auspicious day. He said that the United Nations is the product of hope, the hope and resolve following the Second World War to move beyond global conflict to global cooperation. Today, he said, our organization is being tested like never before, but the United Nations were made for moments like this. Now more than ever, we need to bring to life the values and the principles of the United Nations Charter in every corner of the world by giving peace a chance and ending conflicts that jeopardize lives, futures, and global progress. Pakistan's role has also been extremely significant as far as the United Nations is concerned, whether it be being part of all the different peacekeeping missions, whether it be always on the forefront when it comes to the United Nations resolutions, and fighting together for a collective cause when it comes to different important issues that plague the world. Pakistan has been at the forefront when it comes to the United Nations. Sadly, there are certain resolutions, especially when it concerns the state of Palestine, and in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, that have still not been translated into action. So let's hope that the coming year or the coming years give rise to a tangible action to all the resolutions that have yet to be translated into some form of action. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's congratulate the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. Rishi Sunak. He is the new Conservative leader as well, and he is the first leader of the United Kingdom who comes from a South Asian origin or from an Indian origin. He was quite critical of Liz Truss's the policy, especially on the economic front. Liz Truss resigned after 44 days, and now he has become the new leader. We wish him all the very best, and let's hope he steers the UK out of the current crisis. With that, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. See you tomorrow inshallah. Allah.